If you've been living under a rock for the past couple of months, there's this super cool tool called Chat GPT AI, which is an AI that's been trained with an insane amount of information and can answer pretty much anything that you ask it. It's also incredibly accurate and never tells a lie. Chat GPT, who is the best YouTuber in the history of YouTube? Just kidding. But for real, this thing is trained on so much information on all corners of the internet, and every day it gets smarter by learning the questions that we're asking and by the feedback that it's receiving. I already know that the S&P 500 can't be beat long term by humans, but this is AI we're talking about. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say. First of all, let me let you in on the fascination behind the S&P 500 and why this is usually what people mean when they say the market, or I'm trying to beat the market. They're really trying to say they're trying to beat the returns of the S&P 500. Now, there are people that trade every single day and that do this for a career and get paid a massive amount of money to be able to try to beat that market. However, 95% of those people, professional traders, can't beat it. There are people who make stupid amounts of money handling your money with one job to do, which is to beat the S&P 500. Because if they can't beat the S&P 500, why are we paying them this absurd fee in order to do so? So if you are going to be paying them that massive fee, they better beat VOO, because if not, it would never ever make sense for you to not just go set this up yourself and save yourself thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. A fee for a financial advisor or mutual fund manager is usually somewhere between 1% and 2%, whereas the fee to go and invest in the S&P 500 through using an ETF called VOO will take you about 5 minutes in total and will be a fee of 0.03%. So that means it's about 30 to 50 times more expensive to have somebody else manage your money. So now that you know that you can go out and invest your money yourself, keep that in your back pocket for later on in this video. The S&P 500 has had an average rate of return of over 10% every year for almost 70 years, and over the past 10 years, a little over 12%. This is incredibly important, and if any of you do decide to go with a money manager or financial advisor, please ask them their average rate of return long-term, or as long-term as possible. That would be like Peloton saying they're an amazing stock because of their 400% gain in 2020 when they lost 75% of their entire value in 2021. So you need to know the whole story. And we talk a lot about this topic in my Patreon group, and so if that's something that you're interested in and so that somebody else doesn't have to manage your money and you could do it yourself, it only costs $20 a month to be a part of this group, but so many people have saved thousands just by doing that. We have a live Zoom every 2 weeks, and we have a great group chat where we all feed off of each other and learn more. If that interests you, check out the link down below, and I'm looking forward to having you join the group so we can all get financially free together. Now, you guys already know, but the S&P 500 is the United States' largest 500 companies by market cap, with familiar names like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, and Walmart in the top holdings. It's very diversified, which keeps you as the investor very safe, and it even has a nice little dividend of over 1.5%. With consistent and solid history, I can pretty confidently say that I expect their return to stay at about 10% every year. And for example, if you were to just put $100 per week into VOO for 20 years, you'd end up with about $275,000. And if you kept that up for another 20 years, you'd end up with over $2 million. But there's just one problem. Investing in the S&P 500 is too slow and too boring. So many people set out to beat the S&P 500 like I talked about before. The only way to beat it with stocks would be to pick other stocks that are not in the S&P 500, or to pick some of the stocks in the S&P 500 that should be stronger and leaving out the ones that maybe will pull down the fund overall. In a recent article that I was reading in the New York Times earlier this year, it said that the last time the average active US stock fund beat the S&P 500 stock index for a full calendar year was in 2009. And over the last 5 years, not a single fund has been able to beat it every year for all 5 years. And not even just that. It says that the team selected the 25% of funds with the best performance over the 12 months through June 2018. Then the analyst asked how many of those funds remaining in the top quarter for the 4 succeeding 12-month periods through June 2022? And the answer was none. So not just beating the S&P 500, this is saying that a fund that was in the top 25% of all funds didn't remain even in the top 25% over a 4-year stretch. Most people are investing for long-term investments, or at least longer term, like 5 years, 10 years, something like that, to be able to take advantage of compound interest because it's just the most powerful tool that we have. But the only way you can actually take advantage of compound interest is if the fund is consistent and continually brings in those average rate of returns. And this is showing that nothing is doing that, and it definitely isn't getting anywhere close to the S&P 500. But these funds are being picked by people, so for all these reasons, this is why we're going to use Chat GPT, and I'm expecting some fireworks here. Chat GPT, please help me pick the best stocks or ETF to beat the S&P 500 long term. Wow, this part is interesting. There's no way to predict with certainty which stocks or ETFs will outperform the S&P 500 in the long term. The stock market is inherently unpredictable, and many factors can influence the performance of individual stocks and ETFs. The thing with the most information readily available from anywhere on all parts of the internet, and trained on every stock analysis and anything that we could look up ourselves, said that with all that information, there's no way that they can figure out trends or predictions to beat the S&P 500. It can literally write code for a complex computer program, or even write a whole new literary novel, but it can't figure out how to beat the S&P 500 long term. And I was very impressed with its answer of explaining strategies investors use to try. I definitely agree with looking for strong fundamentals and also great competitive advantage. So this part right here tells me that it knows how to be able to figure this out. It's just saying that there just is no real way to do it. Now, it was really this sentence for me, though. It is important to keep in mind that investing in individual stocks carries more risk than investing in a diversified index fund such as an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. So in its infinite wisdom, it's basically saying, stop trying, sit down, and just invest in the S&P 500 through the ETF VOO. So here's the facts, people. The S&P 500 has an amazing history. It makes a lot of sense as to why it's going to remain consistent, but it's also a fact that investing in this is boring. You need to decide if your goal is actually to beat the S&P 500, or if your goal is to invest in order to further your financial freedom and get you to financial independence. The more books I read and the more incredibly rich, wise people I listen to only say the same thing about investing, and that is that you need to find solid ETFs or index funds with very low fees, stay consistent by dollar cost averaging every week or month no matter what, and to live below your means. Do all of that and I promise you're gonna be all right. And guys, it should never be about beating the market. It should be about beating inflation. That's the reason to invest, to make sure that your money makes you money while you sleep, rather than inflation taking away from the value of your net worth. If you want to learn more about my simple approach to investing, where I narrowed it down to just 3 ETFs you'll ever need for your entire life, and that will beat the old school 3-fund portfolio in every category, check out this short video now and let me know which fund is your favorite.